The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has denounced that Israel has bombed 27 hospitals and 12 medical centers in Gaza. In Haiti, nearly 11,000 citizens have left their homes in the last week due to attacks by criminal groups. And Venezuela finalizes preparations for the investiture of President Nicolas Maduro this January 10th. Hello, welcome from the South. I'm Luis Alberto Matos from teleSUR studios in Havana, Cuba. We begin with the news. The UN High Commissioner for Human Rights, Volker Turk, has denounced that Israel has bombed 27 hospitals and 12 medical centers in Gaza. Turk stated that Israeli attacks during the nearly 15 months of conflict have left 100,000 wounded, of whom many have died while awaiting treatment due to lack of access to medical care. He also noted the increasing obstacles imposed by Israel on UN agencies and other humanitarian organizations seeking to provide aid in Gaza. The Commissioner also stressed that the intentional targeting of hospitals constitutes a war crime, and since the start of the war on October 7, 2023, Israel has refused to allow independent investigations into its actions in Gaza and has blocked journalists' access to the conflict zone. In Palestine, the Political Bureau of the Islamic Resistance claims that Israel is carrying out sadistic crimes and brutal terrorism with the help of the United States, the United Kingdom, and other Western nations. Bassem Naim, former Minister of Health in the Gaza Strip, also referred to the destruction of the health infrastructure of the Palestinian enclave, especially in the north, and said that it is one of the most heinous crimes committed in the 15 months of Israeli genocidal operation. He described the Zionist actions supported by the West as flagrant violations of international law, the United Nations Charter, and basic human values. Likewise, and on the anniversary of the assassination of Sheikh Saad al-Aruri, they called for unity and reaffirmed their commitment to resistance. And in Palestine, the Ministry of Health reported that at least 77 people were killed and 145 injured following attacks by the Zionist regime, Israel, in the Gaza Strip. The Palestinian Ministry of Health reported that with this attack, the number of victims of the Israeli genocide in the enclave since October 7, 2023 amounted to 45,658 dead and more than 108,000 wounded. In this regard, an emergency meeting requested by Algeria to the UN Security Council to discuss the Israeli attacks on Palestine, the World Health Organization provided verified data of 654 attacks on health facilities in the Gaza Strip, with hundreds of deaths and injuries. And pro-Palestinian humanitarian organizations denounced the situation of children in the Gaza Strip amidst the ongoing Israeli siege. Humanitarian activists described as dire the living situation in the coastal enclave during 2024. They also denounced that in the absence of a ceasefire, occupation troops are advancing their genocidal operation, killing thousands of innocent people, including hundreds of children. To this is added the arrival of winter, in the context of which children lost their lives due to prolonged exposure to low temperatures as they did not have the resources or adequate shelter to take refuge. And the Russian representative to the United Nations, Vasily Nebensia, pointed to the administration of the President of the United States, Joe Biden, as responsible for the war crimes perpetrated by Israel in Gaza. The statement was made during an emergency session of the Security Council convened because of the extreme medical health situation in the Strip. Experts invited to the conclave explained that Israel has destroyed the health system of the Palestinian enclave. In this context, the United States representative, Dorothy Shea, defended the attack on the health centers, assuring that Hamas used them to store weapons, a fact that has never been proven in the 15 months of the genocidal operation against Gaza.
In these circumstances, the Director General of the WHO, Dr. Tedros Ghebreyesus, who, as we all remember a few days ago, miraculously survived an Israeli attack at the Sinai airport, announced that the health sector in Gaza is under serious threat and called on the Israeli authorities to cease their attacks on medical institutions and to release the leaders and medical staff of the Camel Hospital in Gaza. He announced that the health sector in Gaza is under serious threat and called on the Israeli authorities to cease their attacks on medical institutions and to release the leaders and medical staff of the Kamal al-Adwan Hospital, who were detained during the Israeli military incursion. But this call clearly fell on deaf ears. In West Jerusalem, the response was an Israeli attack on the hospital. Like the Al-Aqwa hospital, many people were killed and dozens wounded. The inhumanity of Israel's actions, which depend on the unreserved support of Washington, is becoming increasingly clear.
The government of Iran reaffirmed its readiness to immediately engage in constructive negotiations with the West over its nuclear program if these lead to a new agreement. At the end of December, the Iranian Foreign Ministry revealed that a new round of negotiations between Tehran, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, and Iran's nuclear program could take place in January 2025. On November 29th, Switzerland hosted the negotiations on the nuclear program between Tehran and these Western countries. A week earlier, the International Atomic Energy Agency adopted a resolution promoted by Germany, the United States, and France without taking into account the results of the business trip to Iran by the agency's Director General, Rafael Grossi. Let's take a short break now, but first remember you can join us on TikTok at teleSUR English, where you'll find news in different formats, news updates, and much more. We'll be right back. Stay with us. Welcome back. French authorities issue an orange alert in 30 departments due to the threat of snow and black ice. The National Meteorological Service reported that snow will affect the northern territories of the country, particularly its central and eastern regions. The agency also warned that snowfalls will be accompanied by freezing rain, expected to last between 1 and 3 hours, thus causing difficulties for road traffic. The National Meteorological Service urged the population to be alert to the weather and to follow the authorities' recommendations. The so-called Coral Revolutions are threatening the upcoming presidential elections in Belarus to be held on January 26, 2025. There are currently 5 registered candidates vying for the presidency, including incumbent President Alexander Lukashenko. Let's see more.
The pre-election campaign began in Belarus on January 1st, ahead of the presidential elections of the Republic, scheduled for January 26, 2025. Despite the apparent political stability in the country, the West has started a strong campaign of sabotage, and the opposition is preparing marches and all kinds of provocations in the style of Euromaidan in Kiev, with the participation of far-right groups and foreign agents.
More than 45,000 Polish military personnel are already stationed on the northwestern border of Belarus, many of them from elite corps, and this number continues to grow. In addition to Lithuania, where a new base is constantly being built and military equipment, including both free troops and heavy armored vehicles, is being increased under the guise of military exercises.
After the last elections in 2020, the situation became so serious that Lukashenko had to take up arms himself. This time, there seems to be no candidate nominated by the West, whose aim is always to disregard the official election results in order to start destabilizing the situation in the country immediately after the votes are counted.
Poland will try to overthrow Alexander Lukashenko. Trump does not recognize it. The U.S. State Department has just issued a statement that U.S. citizens should leave Belarus because they are preparing destabilization in our allied republic.
We do not rule out that there may be some provocations, but it won't happen because we won't allow it, because we know who does it. Recently, Mike Pompeo, who we met with, former director of the CIA and then head of the State Department, was in Belarus. He said yes, they couldn't organize a color revolution in Belarus. Well, what other proof do we need that they interfered in our elections and wanted to destroy the country?
Belarus es el principal aliado de Rusia.
Belarus is Russia's main ally and, as such, has become a headache for NATO. An attack against the country could come from Poland, Lithuania, or Ukraine. According to KGB reports, Belarus has been warning about the preparation of provocation since November last year.
Desde noviembre del año pasado.
The West is most probably preparing some kind of attack to seize several territories. The KGB has already reported that, with the help of Polish and Ukrainian volunteers, several terrorist groups are being prepared that can enter the border territories, seize separate points, and from there declare that they are liberating territories from the dictatorship of President Lukashenko. This is one of the variants, and the other is that large launching units may enter the western territories of the region.
Western political strategists have enormous experience in organizing anti-government unrest around the world. The attempted color revolution in Minsk in 2020 was finally thwarted, as well as in Georgia at the end of last year. The West is once again taking a gamble on Belarus, as its role in the geopolitical landscape is now more important than ever.
In other news, South Korea is currently experiencing its worst political crisis in decades, with impeached President Yoon Suk-yeol defying an arrest warrant from the Corruption Investigation Office. Yoon's supporters have rallied at his official residence, leading to a standoff that forced 30 officials to retreat after being confronted by protesters and military personnel. Yoon's legal team claims the warrant is illegal and has filed an injunction against the CIO, which expressed regret over the situation and stated that executing the warrant was practically impossible due to ongoing confrontations. While some analysts believe Yoon's political power is waning and he should resign for the nation's stability, others argue he still retains substantial support, with as much as 40% of South Koreans backing him. And in Haiti, nearly 11,000 citizens have fled their homes in the last week due to attacks by criminal groups. The International Organization for Migration confirmed this in its recent report published on Friday. The United Nations affiliated organization detailed that the Post-Marchand neighborhood in Port-au-Prince experienced violent attacks in the middle of Christmas celebrations, and that in less than 1 week, 10,867 people were forced to seek refuge. The organization also added that 95% of these people were sheltered in 18 sites, including 4 newly created sites and 14 that existed prior to the incidents. It is important to emphasize that about 800,000 people are internally displaced in Haiti as a result of armed conflict. Like this, we have come a second short break, but before, we invite you to visit our YouTube channel at teleSUR English. There you'll be able to rewatch our interviews, top stories, special broadcastings, and more. We'll be right back after a short break. Welcome back. Venezuela finalized its preparations for the swearing-in ceremony of President Nicolas Maduro this January 10th. The National Directorate of Military Counterintelligence reported from the airbase of La Carlota, located in the east of the Bavarian capital, that 1,200 troops have been deployed throughout the national territory, whose work, as on other occasions, will be to ensure that the Venezuelan people live peacefully and democratic their political and social processes. The military commanders have recalled that, as has happened before, the civil-military alliance will guard the constitutional mandate that requires the investiture of Nicolas Maduro in the Venezuelan parliament. And in Venezuela, cyclists took to the streets of Caracas in what they call rolling for peace and joy. With more details from our correspondent Leonardo Urrieta.
Children, youngsters, and senior citizens arrived with their bicycles at the Laguno Bridge in Caracas to participate in the activity, Rolling for Peace and Joy.
The truth is that I am very happy to have the opportunity to drive again.
A lot of competition against other categories. I felt very good, very good.
recorrieron 26 kilómetros
They ran 26 kilometers starting from the west to the capital. Giovanna De Giro, 55 years old, highlights that there is no age to do sports.
Age does not matter. I am 55 years old, and I learned to ride my bike less than 2 years ago. Age does not matter. What matters is wanting to do it.
La paz y la
Peace
tranquilidad.
and tranquility is breathed in the streets.
They keep saying that Venezuela is falling apart, and it turns out that here we live in a different way. What can I say? This is joy, this is tranquility, happiness, and this is what we want in the country.
Los participantes celebran
The participants welcome this type of activities implemented by the Venezuelan government for peace and peaceful coexistence.
En la cámara de Marcos da Silva, Leonardo Urrieta, Telesur, Caracas, Venezuela.
The Argentine government of Javier Milei intends to transfer the Piranha River trunk waterway to multinationals. Privatization implies customs control in several stages of the second largest waterway in Latin America. The correspondent, Ignacio Lemus, has the details.
There is a place where, long before colonization and borders, the histories and diversity of South American peoples are connected. A place where communities feed themselves, develop their economies, and mobilize their culture together with nature. The Piranha is the 14th longest river on the planet, a vital ecosystem that crosses 8 Argentine provinces and supports almost 12 million people.
It is part of me. It is part of my life. The Piranha River is a place that means a lot to us, because we go fishing, we go for walks. It is a nice place for us. We have an area where we go to have a good time.
After the end of the concession in 2001, the government of Javier Milei announced the reprivatization of the Piranha River with the possibility of dredging up to approximately 13 meters. A resumption of the process initiated during the neoliberal wave of the 90s when the state's action on port activity was interrupted.
Una reprivatización por 30 años.
A reprivatization for 30 years until 2055, with a possible extension of 30 more years until 2085 to continue plundering Argentina.
Seguir saqueando a la Argentina para seguir robando la riqueza de la Argentina en esta.
To continue stealing Argentina's wealth in this bleeding vein that is the Piranha River, which is Argentina's main waterway from where 80% of Argentina's exports come from.
De las exportaciones de Argentina.
On November 20th, National Sovereignty Day, the Milei government announced the terms of the river concession, and recently the Argentine government decided to dissolve the General Port Administration that manages transportation on the Piranha. The absence of the state in the control of customs inspection at various stages implies potential facilities for tax evasion and drug trafficking by private actors.
They are saying that the national government is definitely withdrawing from the Piranha River, which is stated in Article 9 of a 200-page bidding document that it will be the Secretary of Control of Doubtful Assets of the United States to know which will be the foreign company that will manage the dredging, beaconing, and tolling of the Piranha River. This is shocking. It is the United States that defines who will operate the Piranha River.
The section of the Piranha that runs through Argentina is the end of the route of what is known as the Paraguay-Piranha waterway. That is to say, the largest waterway in South America from where soybeans from Brazil and Paraguay leave for other continents. For Congressman Carlos Del Frade, the dispute over the Piranha is today even more important than that of the Malvinas Islands.
Not only are they going to pay less taxes, but they are also going to receive more money in return because they are going to exaggerate in over-importing so that the state will return money to them, and then, since security will be reduced to the multinationals, we are not going to find out which ships are leaving from here loaded with tons of cocaine to different parts of the world as has happened in the last 4 years. Imagine that in one port, imagine that in 79 ports. They will draw the numbers for you.
Currently in Santa Fe, the U.S. company Cargill owns 2 ports a few meters from where artisanal fishermen work for less than a minimum monthly wage. and this logic is repeated in different stretches of the river. On the other hand, environmental organizations warn that the lack of state control over dredging has resulted in the dissemination of garbage that obstructs the tributaries where riverbank communities live.
Que obstruye los afluentes donde viven las comunidades a las orillas de los ríos. Ignacio Lemus y Julia Nassif para teleSUR.
Like this, we have come to the end of this news brief. You can find these and many other stories on our website at telesurenglish.net. So join us on social media, Facebook, X, Instagram, Telegram, and TikTok. For teleSUR English, I'm Luis Alberto Matos. Thank you for watching.